The massive alien ship hung in space like a dark cloud over the moon, its metallic surface absorbing rather than reflecting light. Inside the vessel, Supreme Commander Vex of the Dominion stood before the giant display screen, his four eyes narrowing as he studied the blue planet below. Such a primitive species, he muttered, mandibles clicking in amusement. They haven't even colonized their own moon properly. His second-in-command, Officer Kell, pulled up the scan results on the main screen. The scans show their bodies are remarkably inefficient, Commander. They waste energy maintaining constant body temperature, require frequent rest cycles, and their bones are unnecessarily dense. Weaknesses we can exploit, Vex replied, his scaled skin shifting colors with satisfaction. What about their technology? Primitive at best, Kell reported, sliding through various images. They still use combustion engines, their weapons rely on chemical propellants, and their communication systems leak radiation everywhere. They haven't even mastered basic gravity manipulation. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Jack Ross sat in the underground control center of the Earth Defense Force, staring at screens filled with unusual data. Something wasn't right with the satellite networks. For the past week, communications had been experiencing strange disruptions, and the usual explanations weren't adding up. "Sir," called out Marcus, his lead technician, "we're seeing those patterns again. All satellites passing over the dark side of the moon are experiencing a 3-second delay in transmission." Ross leaned forward, his weathered face reflecting the blue glow of the monitors. 20 years in electronic warfare had taught him one thing. Patterns like this didn't happen naturally. "Show me the signal degradation data," he ordered. As Marcus pulled up the charts, Ross's coffee went cold beside him. Forgotten. The disruptions were too precise, too regular. Someone, or something, was studying Earth's communication networks. High above, Vex reviewed the invasion plans with his war council. Their militaries are divided by arbitrary geographical boundaries, he explained, highlighting various regions on the global map. Their weapons will be useless against our shield technology, and their primitive aircraft can't reach our ships in high orbit. "What about their nuclear weapons?" asked one of the council members. "Their own electromagnetic shields will prevent them from launching such weapons," Vex responded confidently. "They've built their own cage." Back on Earth, Ross was putting the pieces together. The satellite disruptions, unexpected atmospheric readings, and strange astronomical data all pointed to something massive hiding behind the moon. He drafted an urgent report for his superiors, knowing they'd likely dismiss it as paranoid speculation. "Marcus," he called out, "get me the deep space radar logs from the past month, and contact Dr. Anna Wright at the radio telescope array. Tell her it's about the anomalous readings she reported last week." In space, final preparations were underway. The Dominion fleet emerged from behind the moon, 50 ships strong, each carrying enough firepower to level a city. Their sleek, dark forms blotted out the stars as they moved into attack formation. "Begin the resource acquisition protocol," Vex commanded. "Minimal force. These primitives will likely surrender at the first show of our superior technology." Officer Kell coordinated the fleet's deployment. "All ships in position, Commander. Weapons charged. Shield frequencies adjusted for Earth's atmosphere." "Commence the operation," Vex ordered, already imagining how easily Earth's resources would be stripped away. These humans, with their fragile bodies and simple machines, couldn't possibly resist the Dominion's might. But in his underground command center, Ross was already mobilizing. He'd seen enough. "Get me a direct line to the Joint Chiefs," he ordered Marcus, "and initiate Protocol Dark Winter." As warning signals began flashing across his screens, Ross knew humanity was about to face its greatest challenge. The aliens thought they'd found an easy target, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating human beings. The first shots were about to be fired in a war that would prove humanity was anything but primitive. Brilliant beams of green light cut through the morning sky, targeting military bases across the globe. Supreme Commander Vex watched from his command ship, expecting to see panic and chaos spread across the human communication channels. Instead, he heard laughter. "Commander," Officer Kell reported, confusion clear in his voice. "The humans at Base Alpha are joking about our weapons color. They're comparing it to something called a laser pointer and Star Wars." Vex's scales darkened with anger. Impossible. Increase power to lethal levels. On the ground, Captain Linda Miller watched the alien ships through her binoculars from her hidden position in the Rocky Mountains. The military base below lay in ruins, but thanks to Commander Ross's early warning, they'd evacuated all personnel and equipment to underground bunkers 3 days ago. "They really thought we'd keep our forces above ground," she muttered, speaking into her secure radio. Base 6 reporting. "Enemy still wasting ammunition on empty buildings." All across the world, a similar scene played out. The Dominion's precision strikes found themselves hitting empty targets. Decades of Cold War preparation had given humanity extensive underground infrastructure, and Ross's warning had set everything in motion. In his command bunker, Ross coordinated with global military leaders. "Their weapons are energy-based," he explained, pointing to sensor readings. "They're powerful, but they're losing coherence in our atmosphere. Water vapor and dust are reducing their effectiveness." "Sir," Marcus called out. Incoming transmission from Captain Miller's team. "They've recorded the alien weapon frequencies. Dr. Wright says she can analyze them for weaknesses." Above Earth, Vex was growing increasingly frustrated. Why aren't they surrendering? Our first strike should have crippled their military capability. "Sir," Kell interrupted, "we're detecting massive underground complexes. The humans, they've been preparing for war for decades. Their entire military infrastructure can operate from below ground. Then we'll flush them out," Vex snarled. "Deploy the ground forces." The Dominion's landing ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their hulls glowing red with entry heat. They carried waves of robotic combat units, each one programmed with perfect battle algorithms and equipped with energy shields. But humanity had a surprise waiting. As the first wave of robots marched out of their landing ships, they found themselves sinking into carefully hidden quicksand pits. Others triggered simple but effective traps. Avalanches in the mountains, flooded valleys that shorted their circuits, and carefully placed electromagnetic pulse generators. Captain Miller watched through her scope as another group of robots struggled in the mud. Like watching million-dollar toasters try to fight in a water park, she radioed to her team. "Keep the guerrilla tactics going. Don't let them adapt to our patterns." In orbit, Vex received the casualty reports with growing alarm. "How are they doing this? Their weapons are primitive." "Sir," Kell's voice shook slightly. "Intelligence update from the ground forces. The humans, they're using their terrain against us. They're fighting in ways our battle computers never predicted. They're improvising." Ross smiled grimly as he reviewed the incoming reports. The aliens had expected an army that would stand and fight. Instead, they got thousands of small teams using hit-and-run tactics, each one operating independently, each one finding creative ways to defeat superior technology with simple solutions. "Send word to all commands," Ross ordered. "Continue with Phase 2. Let's show our visitors why you don't judge a species by their technology alone." As the sun set on the first day of the invasion, the Dominion's perfect battle plan lay in shambles. They had expected an easy victory over primitive humans. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that turned their own assumptions into weapons. And this was only the beginning. Tom Baker wasn't a soldier. Until last week, he had been fixing radio towers in Kansas. Now he sat in an underground lab, studying captured alien technology with a mix of curiosity and excitement. "It's not magic," he muttered, connecting another wire to the alien shield generator. "It's just science we haven't figured out yet." The device hummed to life, creating a shimmering energy field. Tom checked his readings and smiled. "Get me Commander Ross," he called to his assistant. "I think I found something." Up in orbit, Supreme Commander Vex was facing his own discoveries. "What do you mean our shields are failing?" he demanded, staring at the damage reports. Officer Kell played a recording of the latest battle. "The humans are using simple radio waves, sir. They've discovered that certain frequencies interfere with our shield harmonics. It's like they're using stone tools to break advanced technology." "Impossible." Vex slammed his fist on the control panel. "Their primitive broadcasts shouldn't affect our defenses." But down on Earth, Tom was proving exactly how possible it was. He stood before a group of military leaders, including Ross and Captain Miller, explaining his discovery. "Their shields work on predictable patterns," he said, pointing to his diagrams. "Like a song playing on repeat. We just need to play the wrong note at the right time." He held up a modified radio transmitter. "And we already have thousands of radio towers that can do exactly that." Ross leaned forward. "How fast can we modify our transmitters?" Tom grinned. "We already started. Every radio station, cell tower, and TV antenna can become a weapon. The aliens made their shields too perfect, too regular. They never thought anyone would try something so simple." Around the world, human forces began fighting back with newfound confidence. In the Rocky Mountains, Captain Miller's team used modified radio equipment to disable alien shields before attacking with conventional weapons. In Europe, resistance fighters turned old AM radio towers into shield-breaking weapons. Even civilian ham radio operators joined the fight, creating a worldwide network of shield-disrupting signals. The Dominion forces struggled to adapt. Their advanced AI combat systems couldn't predict human tactics because humans weren't following any logical pattern. Every group fought differently, used different tricks, adapted in different ways. "Sir," Kell reported to Vex, "we're losing ground in multiple sectors. The humans, they're learning too fast. They're already replicating some of our technology, but they're using it in ways we never considered." Tom's next discovery proved even more devastating. He found that the aliens' energy weapons became less effective in rain and fog. Within hours, military forces worldwide began using water cannons and smoke generators to weaken alien attacks. "They designed everything to be perfect," Tom explained to Ross as they watched tests of the new countermeasures. "But sometimes imperfect is better. Our primitive projectile weapons still work just fine in bad weather." The tide was turning. Human factories switched to producing shield-breaking devices. Amateur radio clubs coordinated global disruption of alien communications. Every human weakness the aliens had counted on became a strength. "They thought we'd be easy to beat because we're not as advanced," Ross said, watching real-time battle maps in his command center. "But that's exactly why we're winning. We know how to fight without perfect technology. We know how to improvise." As the third week of invasion came to a close, the Dominion faced an uncomfortable truth. Their superior technology was being defeated by human creativity and simple physics. Their perfect weapons and flawless strategies were failing against an enemy that didn't play by the rules. And humanity was just getting started. The captured alien soldier stared in disbelief as Officer Wilson ate his fourth meal of the day. "Impossible," it whispered. "You've been awake for 20 hours straight, running combat operations in freezing conditions, and you're still functioning." Wilson shrugged, taking another bite of his sandwich. "Coffee helps. Plus, this isn't even cold compared to winters in Minnesota." In his command ship, Supreme Commander Vex received the latest report with growing horror. "What do you mean they don't need rest cycles? Everyone needs rest cycles." Officer Kell displayed the surveillance footage. "The humans are operating in shifts, sir. When one group sleeps, another takes over. They can maintain continuous operations indefinitely. And their soldiers." He paused, mandibles clicking nervously. "They can push through extreme fatigue if needed. We've recorded humans fighting effectively after being awake for over 48 hours. On Earth, Commander Ross coordinated the global counteroffensive from his bunker. The displays showed human forces pushing back alien positions on multiple fronts. "Send the Arctic teams in now," he ordered. "The aliens can't handle the cold." Captain Miller's voice crackled over the radio. "Sir, my team just discovered something else. Their environmental suits can't handle rapid temperature changes. We're using steam vents to crack their armor." The Dominion forces were learning harsh lessons about human biology. Their soldiers needed precise environmental conditions to function. Humans, on the other hand, were thriving in conditions that should have killed them. "They're fighting in the desert at 120 degrees, Kell reported. "Now the same units are operating in sub-zero mountains. Their bodies shouldn't be able to adapt this quickly." "How?" Vex demanded. "Their temperature regulation is primitive. They waste energy maintaining body heat." "That's exactly why it works," Tom Baker explained in the underground lab, showing Ross the analysis. "We evolved to handle extreme conditions. Our inefficient biology makes us more adaptable. The aliens designed themselves to be perfect for specific conditions. We designed ourselves to survive anything." The evidence was mounting. Human soldiers could run for hours in full gear. They could fight with broken bones, survive blood loss that would kill an alien instantly, and keep going through injuries that should have been debilitating. "Sir," Miller radioed in, "we just watched an alien unit retreat because it started raining. Meanwhile, my team has been fighting in this thunderstorm for 6 hours." The alien commanders couldn't understand it. Their soldiers were stronger, faster, and more technologically advanced. But they couldn't match human endurance. They couldn't adapt to Earth's varied environments. They couldn't handle the constant pressure of human forces that just wouldn't stop coming. Ross smiled as he reviewed the battle maps. "They thought our biology was primitive because it wasn't specialized," he said to his staff. "They didn't realize that being a generalist species is our greatest strength. We can fight anywhere, adapt to anything, and keep going when specialized species fail." The Dominion's perfect soldiers were breaking. They couldn't handle the constant harassment from human forces that needed minimal rest. They struggled with Earth's gravity, its atmospheric pressure, its temperature swings. Every environment on Earth was hostile to them, but humans had evolved to thrive in all of them. "Begin Phase 4, Ross ordered. "Full pressure on all fronts. Don't let them rest, don't let them adapt. Show them what human endurance really means." In orbit, Vex watched his forces crumbling. His soldiers were exhausted, their equipment was failing, and the humans just kept coming. They'd dismissed humans as primitive because they weren't perfectly adapted to any single environment. Now they realized their mistake. Humans were imperfectly adapted to survive everywhere, and that imperfection was proving to be the perfect weapon. Tom Baker stood in the newly established Hybrid Technology Center, surrounded by captured alien equipment. His team had done the impossible. They'd not only understood alien technology, but had started improving it. "Look at this," he said to Commander Ross, holding up what looked like a standard military rifle. "We combined their energy cells with our projectile weapons. Their perfect power systems were actually wasteful. By making them a little less efficient, we got 3 times the shots per charge." Ross picked up the weapon, noting how it felt like a normal gun but hummed with alien power. "They thought we'd take years to understand their tech." "That's because they don't understand human pattern recognition," Tom replied, moving to a larger device. "We've been imagining this stuff in science fiction for centuries. Once we got our hands on the real thing, we just had to match it to what we'd already dreamed up." In orbit, Supreme Commander Vex received more bad news from Officer Kell. "Sir, the humans, they're not just copying our technology. They're modifying it, making it work in ways our scientists never considered." Kell's scales had turned a pale shade of fear. "They're using our own supply ships against us." On the tactical display, they watched as captured Dominion supply vessels, modified with human controls, slipped past their defenses. The humans had removed the sophisticated autopilot systems and were flying them manually, doing things the ship's original programming would have considered impossible. Captain Miller's voice crackled over the Global Resistance Network. "Strike Team Alpha reporting. Enemy supply lines cut in sectors 7 through 12. Their troops are running out of power cells, and they can't adapt to Earth's natural resources like we can. The aliens had expected humans to be overwhelmed by their advanced technology. Instead, humanity had taken their tech apart, understood it within weeks, and started making it better. Every captured piece of equipment became a new weapon in Earth's arsenal. They're like children with building blocks, Vex growled, watching another supply ship fall to the humans. They take things apart and put them back together in new ways, without caring about proper protocols or design philosophies. That's exactly right, Tom explained to a group of engineers. Their technology is like perfectly fitted puzzle pieces. They never thought to ask what would happen if you forced pieces together in new ways. We're doing the technological equivalent of smashing puzzle pieces together to make new pictures. Ross coordinated the global offensive from his command center, now enhanced with hybrid human-alien systems. Screens showed human forces using modified alien shields that could withstand both energy weapons and physical impacts. Teams deployed reverse-engineered teleporters that worked twice as well in Earth's atmosphere as the original alien versions. All units, begin Operation Thunderbolt, Ross commanded. Use the hybrid weapons. Show them what happens when human creativity meets alien technology. Around the world, human forces struck with devastating effect. Modified alien energy weapons punched through Dominion shields. Human aircraft, enhanced with alien tech but still piloted by human hands, outmaneuvered the perfectly programmed alien ships. It's not possible, Vex whispered, watching his forces fall back on every front. They were supposed to be primitive. Sir, Kell reported, his voice shaking. New human weapons detected. They've taken our defensive shields and turned them into offensive weapons. They're using them to create explosive containment failures in our power systems. Tom's team had cracked another alien secret. Their power systems are too perfect, he explained to Ross. They never considered that someone would deliberately create imperfections to generate explosive reactions. As Earth's forces pushed forward on all fronts, the Dominion faced a terrible truth. They had given humanity access to advanced technology, expecting them to be overwhelmed. Instead, humans had done what they did best. They learned, adapted, and improved everything they touched. The tide of war had turned, and there was no going back. Supreme Commander Vex couldn't understand the sounds coming through his ship's communication system. Human music, loud, chaotic, and full of energy, blasted through every channel. His soldiers were becoming unstable, their carefully ordered minds disrupted by the constant psychological assault. Turn it off, he ordered, but Officer Kell shook his head. We can't, sir. They've hacked our communication networks. Every time we block one frequency, they broadcast on 10 more. The humans are. He hesitated. They're playing something called rock music on all channels. On Earth, Commander Ross watched the psychological warfare operation with satisfaction. The aliens rely on order and structure, he explained to his staff. Their minds can't handle chaos and unpredictability. So let's give them chaos. Captain Miller's teams had discovered this weakness by accident. During a battle, one of her soldiers had played loud music over a captured alien communication device. The enemy forces had become confused and disorganized almost immediately. Their brains are too perfect, Tom Baker explained, studying brain scan data from captured aliens. They can't filter out what they consider noise. Every random sound, every unpredictable pattern, it all gets processed with the same priority as important information. Across the globe, human forces exploited this weakness. They'd broadcast random number sequences, played multiple songs at once, and sent conflicting orders through enemy channels. The Dominion's rigid command structure began to crack. Sir, Kell reported, his scales shifting in distress patterns, our ground forces are breaking formation. They can't maintain battle coordination with all this noise. Vex watched in horror as his perfect military machine fell apart. The humans weren't just attacking their bodies and their technology. They were attacking their minds. Launch the final assault, Ross ordered through the secure human networks. Operation Thunderstrike begins now. Around the world, human forces struck with devastating coordination. Unlike the aliens, they could function in chaos. They had trained for confusion, practiced fighting in disorder, and learned to thrive in uncertainty. Miller's teams led the ground assault, using modified alien weapons and hybrid technology. "The enemy is retreating in Sector 5, she reported. "They can't handle multiple attack patterns at once. Their combat AI is overwhelmed by our randomized tactics." The Dominion's robotic forces, programmed with perfect battle algorithms, couldn't adapt to human unpredictability. Each human unit fought differently, used different strategies, and changed tactics randomly. The alien AI tried to find patterns where there were none, driving their processing systems into chaos. "Sir," Kell's voice was panicked now. "The humans are using our shield-breaking technology in ways we never imagined. They're creating feedback loops in our defense systems." Tom's latest innovation was spreading across the battlefield. Human forces used modified shield disruptors to turn the aliens' own defensive systems into weapons. Perfect shield harmonics became destructive wavelengths. Perfect energy distribution became perfect energy overload. "All units, advance," Ross commanded. "Don't give them time to think. Don't give them time to adapt. Show them what controlled chaos looks like." The human assault was overwhelming. Where the aliens expected logical attack patterns, they found randomness. Where they expected predictable strategies, they found creative destruction. Their perfect military discipline shattered against the storm of human unpredictability. "We can't hold," Kell shouted as another sector fell. "Their attack patterns make no sense. Our combat computers cannot predict their movements." Vex stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. His forces were in full retreat, their perfect formation broken, their perfect strategies useless. The humans had turned their own perfection against them, using chaos as a weapon more devastating than any technology. The breaking point had arrived, and the Dominion's perfect military machine was shattering against the hammer of human irregularity. Supreme Commander Vex stood on his command ship's bridge for the last time, watching Earth grow smaller in the display. Behind his fleet, thousands of disabled and captured Dominion vessels littered Earth's orbit, monuments to their greatest military disaster. "Final casualty reports, sir," Officer Kell said quietly. "We've lost 60% of our forces, another 20% captured. The humans." He paused, mandibles clicking in disbelief. "They're already using our ships better than we did." On Earth, celebrations erupted across every continent. Commander Ross watched from his command center as cities turned their lights back on, no longer afraid of aerial bombardment. Beside him, Tom Baker was already working on new projects using alien technology. "Look at this," Tom said, pointing to a holographic display. "Their faster-than-light drive isn't actually that complex. We were already theorizing about similar systems. With their tech and our creativity, we could have our own FTL ships within a year." Captain Miller's voice came through on the main channel. "Sir, the last enemy forces in the Rocky Mountains have surrendered. They're asking about our secret weapon. They still can't believe we beat them with modified radio waves and rock music." Ross smiled. "Tell them the truth, Captain. Our secret weapon was being underestimated." In orbit, the remaining Dominion ships prepared for their retreat. Their perfect invasion plan had failed completely. They had expected to find primitive savages and instead found warriors who turned their own perfection into a weakness. "Sir," Kell reported, "the humans are broadcasting on all channels. They're offering to let us retreat safely. They say there's no honor in destroying a defeated enemy." Vex stared at the message in surprise. Even in victory, the humans were unpredictable. "Send our response. The Dominion acknowledges defeat and accepts their terms." On the ground, humanity was already looking to the future. Tom's team had begun mass-producing hybrid technology. Factories that once made cars were now building spacecraft engines. Universities worldwide studied captured alien tech, making new discoveries daily. The stars aren't out of reach anymore, Ross said, addressing the United Earth Council. We've proven we can face anything the galaxy throws at us. But more importantly, we've shown that being human, being imperfect, adaptable, and sometimes chaotic, is our greatest strength. The Council voted unanimously. Earth would unite, not out of fear, but out of hope. The hybrid technology programs would continue. The defense networks would stay active. Humanity would go to the stars, but they would go prepared. In his lab, Tom held up Earth's first working faster-than-light communication device. It's 30% more efficient than the alien version, he explained proudly. Turns out being a little messy with the power distribution actually works better. Captain Miller, now General Miller, oversaw the conversion of captured alien ships into Earth's first space fleet. We're keeping the hybrid designs, she insisted. Pure alien tech is too rigid. Pure human tech is too limited. Together, they're unbeatable. As the last Dominion ship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Ross stood at the new Global Space Command headquarters, watching humanity's first starships under construction. They weren't perfect, sleek alien designs. They were sturdy, practical vessels that combined the best of both worlds. They thought our greatest weakness was being primitive, he said to his staff. But being young, adaptable, and willing to learn, that's humanity's greatest strength. We're not bound by perfection. We're free to imagine, to create, to improve. He looked up at the stars, now filled with possibilities instead of threats. The galaxy thought we weren't ready for the stars. We proved them wrong. Now it's time to show them what humanity can really do. The invasion was over, but humanity's journey to the stars was just beginning.